Hey, what's going on YouTube? So, back again, another day, another week, with a deck profile. This time it is going to be one that is the first one that I built when I came back to the game last year. That one is going to be on Kinnan Bonder Prodigy. It's Kinnan good stuff, but it's primarily sea monsters is the most common creature thematic that I wanted to go with on this. Kinnan's a very strong commander. It lets you ramp and everything else very well. That's why he sees a lot of play. But this one is, like I said, sea monsters. So let's go ahead and start with the lands. The lands we were using, we got our basics, our islands, our forest, our multi-color. So those are our basics. Then we got our utility lands with exotic orchard, command tower, scavenger grounds. No matter what, you can use almost entirely. You'll be able to use exotic orchard. Command towers just pure fixing. Scavenger grounds very helpful if you're going against somebody who's playing a graveyard focused strategy. Then we've got Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, Sage Who Endures, Strictly Better Force is essentially what they are. Being able to disrupt your opponent is nice. Which is why we also run Odawara, Soaring City, and then, Flooded Strand, Halmar Depths, early helping, Botanical Sanctum, Simic Growth Chamber, Yavimaya Coast, Lumbering Falls, and, of course, Breeding Pool. So that rounds that out when it comes to the lands and the different structuring there. And then, going into the sorceries, we have our Mana Ramp with Rampant Growth, Cultivate, Farseek, and the potential Mana Ramp with Unexpected Results, but it could also get you a free spell, and free spells are always nice. And then Rishkar's Expertise, because drawing cards is nice and free spells is nice as well. And Genesis Wave. This deck makes enough mana to validate this being in here, because why not put your entire deck onto the board? Then we go into our instance with Growth Spiral. That additional land could be helpful, and the drawing cards is always nice. Hera, because more land, thin the deck, use Kinnan's effect. Speaking of thinning, we'll go into our draws with Factor Fiction, Blue Sun Zenith, Brainstorm, and Frantic Search. All very good, very common to use draw spells. Again, like with the Genesis Wave, we make enough mana, we might end up in a point where we could Blue Sun an opponent's deck and win that way. Then we got some removal with Crushing Grip, Force of Vigor, Beast Within, Tribute to the Wild. Having that spot removal for artifacts and enchantments, or just permanent with the Beast Within, or being able to make each opponent sacrifice something for just 2. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a blue deck without counter spells, and those counter spells we are using are, of course, Counterspell. Lose Focus, we make enough mana, the Replicate could come in clutch. Anti-Cognition. It's almost guaranteed somebody's going to have at least 8 cards in their graveyard, so why not use it? Spell Swindle, it pairs up so nicely with Kinnan, being able to counter, make you a bunch of treasures that are then going to turn into 2 mana instead of 1, and Plasm Capture, because it's a very good spell, getting that extra mana and what have you. Alright, next let's go into our enchantments, because there's not too many of them. But those enchantments are Bane Deluxa, because a little bit of extra mana and drawing cards is nice. Wilderness Reclamation, because doing things on our turn and then untapping is nice as well. That's more uses. Imprison in the Moon, because dealing with something can be incredibly helpful, especially if that something is your opponent's commander that's trying to pop off. And Ley Line of Abundance, making extra mana is nice. The 1/1 counters could come up, but we like having the mana. Speaking of mana, we'll go into our artifacts now. We'll start with the 1 Lightning Greaves because Shroud to protect. And then just standard mana rocks at this point with the Commander's Sphere, Arcane Signet, Simic Signet, Soul Ring, and then a Replicating Ring. Because if you manage to get these off with Kinnan, that's a lot of mana. Now we'll go into our Planeswalkers, those being Kyora Behemoth Beckoner, because drawing cards is nice. We have enough big creatures to allow us to draw the cards off of her, and being able to untap for more mana or defensive plays is nice as well. Kyora, Master of the Depths. Untapping permanents is nice. Free things is nice as well if you get the land or creature. Speaking of free things, Nissa, Steward of Elements. We make enough mana, we can make that X whatever we want. The Scry is nice in conjunction with Kinnan. And the 0 with enough counters on it is just free cards. And then finishing them off with Tamiyo the Moon Sage for the defensive options, as well as the no maximum hand size and being able to recur anything that goes to the grave. And Tamiyo Completed Sage because the defensive measures of it, as well as the Tamiyo's Notebook, may come in handy. Mostly the defensive measures though. And then finishing off, we'll go with the Mana Dorks first. This deck probably could run more in the terms of mana producing creatures or artifacts, but the ones we run are a Llanowar Elves, a Rift Sower, Birds of Paradise, Sanctum Weaver. The Sanctum Weaver could be replaced with any other mana producing creature. The amount of enchantments does make it at least viable, but any good solid mana producing creature this can be replaced with. I would actually recommend, with things coming out in Streets of New Capenna, switching to a Devoted Druid and having the Devoted Druid Lyrixa combo. I'm probably just butchered that sword's name, and then an Incubation Druid. After that, we've got our utility creatures with Mirror Hall Mimic, because being able to copy things is nice, especially, and then we have the disturbed ability of it. Consecrated Sphinx, because it's Consecrated Sphinx. Kyrie, because if it dies, you can take care of a token strategy, or you can get rid of the things that you don't want to see, if those are 6 or less, or just recur some instants or sorceries. Wonder, because letting all of our big dudes fly through the air is very, very nice. Hole Drifter, because more cards. Timeless Witness to recur. Wayward Swordtooth to play additional lands. Realistically, that can be any extra land producing or playing card. Solemn Simulacrum, because more lands and drawing cards is nice. Karuga, we have enough things in here that the extra cards is just a very good plus to have, especially with Kinnan. Kinnaning a Karuga into play and then drawing 5 cards. Thrasios, I mean, it's a very strong card, same with Tatiova. And then, because my namesake is Jintaxis, we are of course running both Jin Gitixius, Core Augur, and Progress Tyrant, because, I mean, they're strong cards, saying no to your opponent's hand, as well as no to their spells of certain kinds, and then getting to use some extra ones is nice, plus drawing 7 cards a turn. And then going into the sea monsters, we've of course got Mesmerizing Benefit. The tokens help if they're swung on, giving, you know, this dude Hexproof is nice. And then we got Slenvoda and Breaching Leviathan for some mass bouncing. Inkwell Leviathan, Stormtide Leviathan for they're just very strong cards, having essentially a moat in play that's able to swing for 8 a turn, if not more creatures if you have like the Wonder in the graveyard, or an Inkwell that is just very hard to deal with. It's nice. I'm going to end up butchering this. Oryx Mythos, a mana creature that's a 12/12, even if it comes in tapped with those slumber counters. That's extra mana, and you can sit there with that one counter on there until you feel it's safe to use. And as a whole, Primal Tide, because drawing extra cards is nice. Having the maximum hand size is nice as well. Colossal Whale, being able to swing and then banish something that's going to be an issue for you. Coma is Coma. Storm Surge Kraken, and Tremokratus, rounding out the list of, if you block, it's not going to be pleasant, and if you don't block, it's not going to be pleasant. But yeah, that is the list I end up building for this. It's got improvements that can be made to it, just like any deck does. It's got its fun synergies, it's got its fun combos. I believe this is a Simic deck without an infinite combo, and if there is one in there, please point it out in the comment section below. Anyways, that is Kinnan. That is my version of Kinnan, which is, like I said, good stuff and sea monsters. But if you want to see this deck in action, I'm trying to get a Magic Night going over on Twitch, so come follow over there, and then play some games. Take care.